What is going on, all of you amazing gamers out there in the world? I am Mega Amster. Thank you for watching this YouTube video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I do appreciate you stopping by. And the last few years I've done this tradition where at the end of the year, not only do I talk about my top 10 favorite games of the current year, this year being 2024, but also I like to take a look at some games I played off my backlog or older games that I bought and experienced for the first time. And that is what I'm going to be doing here, ranking my top 10 older games that didn't come out in 2024, but that I still played for the first time this year. So when I say played, I mean like almost fully, if not fully, finished the game. Really sunk a lot of time into it, and it can be pretty much any sort of game that I've never played before, and is now I'm into the first time. Just a couple of honorable mentions here. As you're seeing here, Persona 5 was one of my goals to play and beat this game this year. I have about currently 75 hours in the game. I have not beaten it. I got stuck on a certain boss, and unfortunately I just couldn't beat it in time for this video, but if I did, it probably would be in the top 3 because it's a really, really good turn-based RPG, definitely one of my favorites that I've played, and I could hope to finish it in early 2025, but not enough for this list. I also want to shout out Rollerdrome, which I played almost all the levels on Xbox Game Pass that one time I streamed, and really liked just kind of the vibe and the gameplay there. I didn't fully finish it, and it didn't really feel like it necessarily could have made the list here. Also, Beat Saber, shout out, got the VR going. I don't know, that's a weird one where it's like that's almost an ongoing game that I wouldn't really put into a list like this, but just wanted to shout those out before we get into the list here. But with that, let's just jump right into my top 10 favorite older games that I played for the first time in 2024. Now, number 10 is a bit of a bummer, because this is kind of a fan favorite 3D platformer from the GameCube, PS2, Xbox era. And I played a remake of the first one a couple years ago and I actually really liked it. This one, it's not bad, but I have some issues with it, and that's why it's number 10 on this list. That at number 10 is Pac-Man World 2. And I know this is like a fan favorite game, but man, when I was streaming that game earlier this year, there's something about it. It's just the level design, especially near the end, gets pretty bad. It starts off pretty strong, but the game just gets worse as you play. And I never like games like that. It's like the level design just gets lazier and not as fun. The controls feel pretty decent, a little clunky, and just like some of the collectibles and level design are really annoying, especially by the end. Like on the surface level, it is a fun game, but there are some frustrating issues. You have to collect all of the collectibles in one run in order for them to count for a score, which is really weird and very outdated of this game, considering this was in the mid-2000s, right? Maybe early 2000s, I don't know, let me know in the comments below. But it's like, on the surface level, this game should be more fun than the first Pac-Man World, but it just some design issues and some like just polishing issues. It really drags it down for me. But it could be a good game. Like if Bandai Namco decides to do a repack of this game, I don't know if they will, but if they do, I will buy it because I am definitely, this could be a good game. With enough polish, I think it could be a really good game. It's just in its current state, when I played out the GameCube version, I just really did not like it. I got frustrated with it by the end. I just wanted it to be done. But shout out again to Brandon for lending me his copy of this, but I wish I liked it more, but it's a case of I still like enjoyed parts of it, but overall just kind of soured the experience for me. But that's why it's number 10 on this list. We can only go up from here. Number 9 is an oldie, but also a classic, and this one I enjoyed a lot more. Now, not quite as much as, the hardcore fans of this game, but I really wanted to experience the original before I jump into the recent remake series, and that at number 9 is Final Fantasy VII. Now, if you've watched my channel before, if you know me, I'm not a big turn-based RPG fan, and this game is kind of one of those examples of, like, the ATB gauge. Like, it's interesting, it's different, it's not just selecting on a menu. The materia can be kind of interesting, but I still just find the battling kind of tedious. But everything else, I mean, the story, the characters are super memorable. Like, there's a reason why people love this game. Just like the atmosphere for a PlayStation 1 game. This game is almost 30 years old, and it's still, like, the atmosphere and the story and the characters still hold up. Like, there's a reason why it's getting a series of remakes. It's a beloved game, and I can understand why now. This is the first Final Fantasy game I've played, and it probably won't be my last, but, who knows? Maybe for a while. But, like, now I really want to play the remakes, because now I have an actual feeling for the story itself. The story is great, the locales are great, the characters are great. It's just the gameplay, the turn-based RPG gameplay has never fully appealed to me, and it kind of drags it down as a result, in terms of the combat there. But, like, from what I see with Remake and Rebirth, it's, like, that definitely more action-heavy combat, from what I can tell, seems a lot more appealing. So I'm very excited, because considering I love the characters and story, I think I'm going to love at least remake, especially. I technically didn't fully beat the game. I came very close. I defeated Diamond Weapon and then did a couple other things, and then I kind of stopped, but I just ended up watching a playthrough of the rest of the game, but enough to where I consider myself done with it. It's still, elements of this game still hold up, but of course it is aged, especially in terms of graphics, but it's still, I don't know, I kind of find those graphics charming in a way sometimes. It's kind of like N64 games, but like overall, I like this more than I thought I would, considering how old it is. It's just the combat definitely drags it a little bit down for me, but that's not its fault. It's a turn-based RPG. You know what I mean? I've never loved those style of games, and I feel like this game doesn't do too much to make it super interesting for me. But like everything around the story, the characters are just fantastic. So definitely understand why it is a cult classic and a fan favorite, one of the most beloved games of all time. It is the number 9 on my top 10 list here. Now, number 8 is, this is going to be a little controversial that I put this above Final Fantasy VII, but I genuinely enjoy this genre more, being 3D platformer collectathons. I love Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Mario 64 is great. Croc, shout out. And this one is definitely a controversial one, but I really did enjoy many elements of it. It's a little too bloated. That at number 8, you can probably see where I'm going with this, is Donkey Kong 64. Sorry for the crunchy trailer here. Yes, I put this above Final Fantasy VII mainly because I enjoy the style of gameplay more. And while the game is very bloated, right? You have to collect, or you don't have to, but you collect all sorts of different collectibles, colored bananas, golden bananas, all sorts of different stuff as each Kong, and there's 5 Kongs total you can unlock. There's a lot of backtracking back and forth, but like I found myself enjoying this game, even though I think it was overall longer. I enjoyed it more than when I played Banjo-Tooie last year. And I don't know what it is. It's just like, I mean, the charm is it's there. The charm is there. And like there's like fun mini games scattered about. It's long. It's, especially if you do what I did and go after all the collectibles, it's very long. I did play the Wii U Virtual Console version, and apparently that one's really bad because there are some bugs with certain mini games that I had to kind of like use like a glitch for, which kind of sucked. But that's, you know, the original wasn't like that. It's just the Wii U emulation. So another -1 point for the Wii U, I guess. But fun locales, good music. They're a little open, but I didn't mind them as much as the areas in Banjo-Tooie. I feel like it's slightly better this time around, and honestly, I like exploring with the different Kongs. It gives you a reason to go back and explore areas that you've been to before with new abilities. And yeah, like I said, it's super charming. Something about this style of N64 platformer collectathon, there's something nostalgic about these games for me, even though I did not grow up with them. They're still just really fun. I don't know. Definitely long. It could have been definitely less long. There's a lot of padding with some of the collectibles, hence why it's not higher on the list, but I still really enjoyed this game. I really had a good time. Just, yeah, a little too long in the tooth, but sorry for the crunchy trailer again there, but that's number 8 on this list. Now, number 7, this is where we start to get to the consistently good games, at least in my opinion. This game is quite solid. It's not amazing in my opinion, which is why it's so low on the list, but it's definitely superior to the first game in this series. And that at number 7 is Mega Man Zero 2. Now, I played the first Zero game a couple years ago, and I just found it really challenging. The mission structure was really tricky. It was very unforgiving. This one, I felt a lot more forgiving. You have the Z-Saber, of course, and like the shield boomerang and the buster, but you also, sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. You also have like a grapple hook kind of thing, which is kind of cool. It's a little wonky, but it can also be very good for like ranged attacks, which is super nice, as you're seeing here. I found the level design and the bosses a little more memorable this time around. The story was interesting, where they were going with where they picked up from Mega Man Zero 1, and the kind of the new characters they introduced were pretty cool. Overall, I mean, it felt like, I wouldn't quite put it on par as some of like the Mega Man X games, like X1, X4, X8. Like I would still put those above this game, but it is definitely a solid Mega Man game to play. I definitely prefer it over the original Mega Man Zero, and it makes me want to continue with the rest of the games in the Zero ZX collection, which I now own. It's not super memorable. That's probably the one thing I'm gonna ding it for. It's just not super duper memorable. It's fun, it's consistently good, maybe a couple frustrating moments, but like otherwise I thought it was a pretty solid romp overall. And just, you know, as Mega Man games go, you know, not super memorable for me, but still quite fun. And that is why Mega Man Zero 2, sorry for the edit, is number 7 on this list. I edited it because I showed the screen by accident, but oh well, at least I caught myself now. Number 6 is another older game. This is actually technically a remake of an even older game. This came out on the portable system, though, unlike the N64. Added some new content to the original and kind of remixed stuff up a bit. And I did include it here. I figured it was enough of a difference because I've played the original, but there's enough new content, enough of a difference to warrant this to be added to the list. And that here at number 6 is Super Mario 64 DS. Now, it's definitely a contentious topic online as to whether people prefer the DS version or the original N64, and the majority seem to say the N64 version, mainly due to the controls, which I can totally understand. I played this on a 3DS, a new 3DS at that, and the circle pad definitely helps, but it still is a little wonky, the movement, especially because it was originally designed for a D-pad on the DS, which was not great compared to the analog stick of the N64, which had much more movement options. But like, even besides that, like the content here is honestly quite solid. I mean, you have 3 new playable characters. You have Yoshi, you have Wario, you have Luigi, as well as Mario. A bunch of brand new stars, exclusive boss fights, and some segments of levels. Not full levels, but like segments of levels, and different extra challenges too. I think every level has 1 or 2 additional stars. Correct me in the comments about those. I mean, the models are upscaled a little bit just to like the newer models. Has the mini games, I guess, which are kind of fun, which I've played before. But it's honestly like surprisingly works well for a portable version of Mario 64. And honestly, I think I prefer this version because of the additional content. I think it does make it more interesting to have the different playable characters rather than like Mario getting the metal cap and the invisible flower, whatever it is. Like Luigi gets the invisible one and Wario gets the metal cap. It's interesting. It makes you want to revisit levels as different characters and like adds a little extra something. It's not super different from the 64 version, but it adds some extra stuff, which is kind of nice. So I honestly I think I prefer this version, which I know might be weird to say, but at least I do. But let me know in the comments below which version of Mario 64 you prefer. This one I really did enjoy, and I think I prefer it. So that is number 6 on this list. Just didn't get higher because, you know, there wasn't really much, I don't know, different about it. At least this is some new concept, but not a ton. So not enough to get it into the top 5. But here we are, number 5. We are in the top 5 now. One of the only entries in a series that I've played many of, but this is one of the only entries I had not played. And I finally got to streaming it this year. And it is, honestly, it's a beloved entry that I feel like not a lot of people talk much about, but it is definitely like respected. And I'm glad I finally got around to it. And with an interesting kind of size-changing gimmick, that at number 5 is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Now, like I said, this was one of the only ones I hadn't played. Finally got around to streaming it this year, and it was really fun. It honestly was really fun. It was just like the whole like Minish mechanic of like growing small, like added to some kind of puzzle solving, even in just like not even in just dungeons, which the dungeons were really good. I thought the dungeons were quite strong. But even just like Hyrule Castletown, exploring around there and like finding little secrets, and just like there's something cool about that aesthetic. It's kind of similar to like something like I mentioned in the Plucky Squire, where it's like, you know, just having that vibe of like you being small in another world. It's almost like you're in a completely different world. Also, shout out to Vadi, my boy. I wish they'd bring him back because he's different than Ganon. He's actually kind of cool. And they kind of go into the origins of Vadi a little bit in this game, which is cool to see. And the whole fusion stone mechanic is kind of cool. Like that gives more incentive to actually talking to NPCs, which is great. The dungeon items, honestly, I think are some of the best we've ever had in this game. Very versatile and not like for the most part, not super situational. And like I said, the dungeons were fun aesthetically. Some really cool ideas, like I said, with the size changing mechanic and everything. Just overall, like solid game. And you know, I would definitely recommend it to any Zelda fans. I'm sure a lot of you haven't played this one, but it's on the Switch GBA Online. It's on Wii U Virtual Console if you want that version too. If you don't have a Switch, I guess. But yeah, it's honestly, and the pixel art looks great. I mean, Game Boy Advance games age so well, man. They honestly still looks really good to this day. So I would give it a shot. It's just not higher because I wasn't like absolutely in love with this game as a lot of fans are. Like I would still probably put it in, it's definitely in the upper half, probably the upper third of Zelda games for me, but like not quite top of the top, which is why it's number 5 on the list. Still very, very good, but there were some really fun games that I played off of my backlog this year. So that is number 5 on this list. Now, number 4 is a much shorter game. It's an older game, slightly older, definitely a different vibe here. Now, some of you may know I love SEGA. Something about their IPs, I know they don't utilize them a lot, they're supposedly bringing them back, but there's something about them that are just super charming and fun and colorful. This one is definitely no exception, made by Sonic Team. This is a whole separate game that is very colorful, definitely different than Sonic, and just kind of, I don't know, it's a nice, fun, arcadey vibe. And that at number 4 is Nights into Dreams. Now, I played this on my Steam Deck, and it's very short game, but the real treasure's in the replayability, right? You have the 2 different kids you kind of play as, but you really play as Knights. Just the idea, like it took me a while to understand the gameplay concept of it, But once I did, it's super fun and flashy, and it reminds me of why I like Sonic, just like the fast arcadey gameplay of just like connecting different loops and orbs together, doing all sorts of loops and tricks, and just really fun vibes. The bosses were honestly solid. A lot of them revolved around the same mechanics, but then a few changed here and there. A little janky in some areas, but like I can see why it's a beloved game. You know, this is originally on the Sega Saturn. Now I'm playing it, yeah, on the HD version on Steam, which has new HD assets and the original Saturn ones, and you can unlock Christmas nights. So there's all sorts of content in that version, and it's just really charming. Doesn't always make sense, you know, but I don't think it's supposed to. It's very, you know, it's Yuji Naka, man, what a character. You know, I think it's from his mind. Definitely correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Definitely a unique idea for a game, but it's fun. I don't know, it's just fun vibes, good vibes, and just like fun arcade gameplay. That's really all I can say all I can say about it, you know. Aesthetically pretty pleasing, very colorful, so it's a fun one. I don't know, I'd recommend giving it a shot. Like I said, you literally could just jump in and jump out, just like a quick little, there's only like 8 levels in the game, I think, just like a quick little gameplay sesh, you know, and just replay over and over to get higher scores. So if that's not your vibe, you might not like it, but if you're like me and you enjoy those games every once in a while, it can be a lot of fun. So that is why it is number 4 on this list. Okay, we're in the top 3. Number 3, this is a recent game. This actually just launched on Switch this year. And it was a big deal when it was announced and it was launching. People were very excited for this, and I figured, you know what, like, I'm going to get in on that excitement. I'm going to check this out, see what I think, especially considering it very much emulates one of Nintendo's own series that's been dormant for a very long time. And to be honest, it might even go above and beyond its original inspiration. And that, at number 3 for me, is Pizza Tower. Now, this game, like I said, it came out a few years ago, I think. What was it, 2022, 21? Let me know in the comments. This is like Wario Land 4 on crack. Like, the art style is super duper fun, very colorful and flashy. It looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. You know what I mean? But just like, of course there's the visuals, but the gameplay itself, like, there's something about those puzzle platforming games. Like, I love Wario Land 4. I haven't played it in forever, but like playing this one made me remember just how much I like Wario Land 4. And like this game, like honestly, it's so unique in the number of like every level has a unique gameplay element to it. You could argue it's gimmicky, but I think if it's gimmicky, then I think it's gimmicky in a good way. Like, there's so many new different elements that are introduced to you. The boss fights are tricky but fun to like replay and get higher ranks on. It is definitely designed for people who like speedrunning games. But like if you get the combos down right, it feels so satisfying to do. I did not go after all P ranks or anything. I didn't even play as the secondary character whose name is escaping me. I just played as Peppino through the base game and like got all the secrets, which I did use a guide a little bit for, and like all the treasures and everything like that. And just, I don't know, it was very fun. The final boss was really good. It was very, very fun and solid and a fun time to play, very frantic. But if you like that style of game, it's like when you get that combo going and you get the speed going, especially during the pizza time segments when you're trying to escape, it's very, very satisfying. And sometimes the controls can be a little clunky to use. I found there were some instances where I meant to do like a certain move and I did another one. Maybe that's just the Switch version. Definitely could be, but it's in the moment it could be a little tricky. Sometimes, like, you know, you get stressed out and you do the wrong move or something. But it's just a very well made, very fluid, very fun game. I would definitely recommend this to, I mean, really any 2D fast 2D platformer fan, and especially if you play like the old Wario Land games, especially Wario Land 4 seems to be the main inspiration. It is wacky, goofy if you like that style of humor, and every level feels different. It's great. And there's like, what, like 15, 16, actually, maybe 19 levels. There's a lot. I think, yeah, 19, I think. There's a lot of levels in this game. So good amount of content too, and multiple playable characters and all sorts of stuff. So definitely would recommend giving this one a shot. Definitely my favorite older indie game. Actually, that's a lie. I was about to say, I got myself. I was about to say it, but it's one of them for sure. Very, very fun, very frantic, but in a good way. So that is number 3 on the list here. Now, number 2, I literally just finished like half an hour ago as of this recording, which is kind of funny. Literally a photo finish there. This is kind of like Final Fantasy VII. This is an all-time classic, also in the PlayStation 1 era. And not the first entry I've played in this series, but the first one I've beaten, like fully beaten, which was really exciting. And I mean, like, I love the Metroidvania genre. And this is like one of, it's the second half of Metroidvania. It's the reason why it's called Metroidvania. And that, you can already know what I'm talking about. And number 2 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This game, man, okay. Let me tell you, the first few hours reminded me of playing. So I've only played Castlevania 1 and Castlevania 3 prior to this. And, neither of those I beat. The first few hours of this game reminded me of those games. And it was honestly quite challenging. I really found it difficult. In those first few hours especially, it was really, really tricky. But like something clicked once I got a few hours in. I had enough of like upgrades. Once I figured out how to use the spells properly to like heal from blood and like do all sorts of spirit and fire damage, then something just started to click, and I just really loved exploring in this game. The soundtrack is fantastic. The pixel art has aged so well. I mean, this game is also almost 30 years old. And I think it's aged super duper well. I played the remastered version on the Xbox 360, which is really cool. Also fun to play as Richter at the very beginning of the game. And if you've played other Castlevania games, or in my case, what was really funny is I've played Vampire Survivors old Castlevania DLC, and like comparing that and seeing what they took for this, I'm like, oh, it's just the parallels are really funny. This is masterclass of a Metroidvania. This genuinely, like, if you had asked me the first few hours, I would have said, like, I don't know about this one. But, like, once I got past that hurdle, I couldn't tell you what spot it was. But once I got past that hurdle, it clicked with me. I got better items. I got better upgrades, more health, more, hearts to use my special weapons. It got really, really fun. And then there's the whole second half, which I won't spoil. But there's a whole other thing that was even more fun to explore for me. Like, this game, unlike Pac-Man World 2, this game for me got better the more I played. And so by the end, I was like, this feels good. I felt like Alucard was such a tank, and I could just like take on pretty much any enemy. And it was really, really fun. I really enjoyed exploring. I almost explored the entirety of the map. I got close to the full completion. I think I was at 199%, right before beating the final boss. But yeah, very fun game. If you're a fan of Metroidvanias, like, it might seem a little daunting, but I would say something like this is more approachable than something like a Super Metroid. I would even argue it might be more approachable than, I guess Super Metroid. Metroid Fusion's a little more approachable, but like, it doesn't have a lot of the modern, nuances that newer Metroidvanias have and the conveniences that the newer ones have, but it's really fun. And if you can like kind of tolerate some of the older game design mentalities, then like I would definitely recommend it. I mean, music's great, pixel art's great, the presentation itself is great. Voice acting not so much, but just very, very good Metroidvania. Really fun experience, and I'm glad I finally beat a Castlevania game. And this is a great one. This is one for the books for sure. So that is why Symphony of the Night is number 2 on this list. Now, if I loved Symphony of the Night so much, what can number 1 be? Well, let me tell you. Here's number 1. This game, I got similar feelings as I did with Castlevania, but more so. Most games, this is kind of a puzzle game, but not quite just a puzzle game. This game made me like write down stuff. Like, I have a full-on notebook full of notes still somewhere around here that I just went ham. Just the world, the atmosphere of this game, on the surface, the simplicity to ease you in. And then as you explore, it just gets more and more fun. And I don't know if I used a guide at all. I have to rewatch my review video. I don't think I did. Maybe maybe for some of the optional puzzles later, I used a little bit of a hint. But like, the world, just the gameplay just immersed me in this indie game. And that's why I had to catch myself earlier. Because this, at number 1, my number 1 older game I played for the first time in 2024 is Tunic. Tunic's so good, man. Tunic, it's pretty much, okay. It's a top-down Zelda game. Very surface level, right? Similar gameplay styles. Some people have said it has a little more of Souls-like elements to it. I don't know about that. What, because it has a dodge roll? Like, okay. I don't know if I'd say that. I think it has a parry system. But just the first of all, visually stunning. Visually beautiful. This game came out in, 2022, I want to say? Visually beautiful. But it's just the sense of exploration and, like, discoverability, it's honestly great. It has some, like, Metroidvania feelings to it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just the simplicity of it, but like slowly upgrading. But what really sells it for me, what makes it number 1, isn't just like the base gameplay, the base combat. It's the secrets. It's like discovering everything and realizing, like, connecting the dots and realizing what the hell's going on. And I do not want to spoil it for anybody here, because you need to play this game for yourself. Do not go in blind. discover this game for yourself, because if you do and you can push through it, it can be a little cryptic in certain ways, but if you're paying attention, you can push through. Like I said, near the end, there were a couple like very optional puzzles that I used a little bit of a guide as a hint for. But like otherwise I didn't, and like I'm so glad I didn't use more of any guides, because like genuinely very fun. The boss fights are like a spectacle. I play this with my TV lights on, so it's super colorful and great. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on with this, and like it made me feel so smart when I solved certain puzzles and everything just clicked. Just genuinely was really, really fun. I would give this a shot if you're a fan of top-down Zelda. Like that would be enough for me to recommend this, and just see what you think, because it's not that expensive and it's supporting indies and it's pretty accessible, and it's just genuinely like really, really good. Because you'll get sucked in like me. Either you'll think it's like, okay, it's a fine top-down Zelda-like game, or you'll be like me and think it's like one of the greatest games ever made. It's just it's so good. The sense of discovery, and I'll never get that back. I've fully played it. I'll never get that sense of discovery back, but you know what? It was so good in the moment. This was the first old game I played this year. And it has stuck in my mind since then. It's crazy. The amount of secrets they put in plain sight for you, and just the core gameplay is just fun to play. So that is why Tunic is my number one older game that I played in 2024. Just really, such a good game. Such a good game. But with that, let's do a quick recap here. So number 10 was Pac-Man World 2. Number 9 is Final Fantasy VII, the original. Number 8 is Donkey Kong 64. Number 7 is Mega Man 02. Number 6 is Super Mario 64 DS. Number 5 is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Number 4 is Nights into Dreams. Number 3 is Pizza Tower. Number 2 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And number 1 on this list is Tunic. So with that is going to do it for this top 10 list. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, let me know what you think of my ordering and my picks in the comments below. Have you played any of these games? Have you really enjoyed them? Maybe not enjoyed them so much? What are some of the games that you played off your backlog this year that you really enjoyed? But definitely let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, keep focused on that backlog. Don't let that backlog get built up like I have. Definitely knock those games out when you can, because you'll find some hidden gems in there sometimes like I did. So with that, take care. Keep on gaming.